Lainey.
And I'm Dion.
And welcome to episode 3 of In The Mourning. Last episode, we stopped at March 6th, which was our 24-week appointment. I was actually 24 weeks and 3 days on that day. And I was so excited. I guess I had gotten into the habit of seeing them every 2 weeks. So I was super excited to see how much they had progressed and how much bigger they've gotten and just everything. I think the appointment the appointment before that one was they did like their heart. They measured like their heart and the blood flow and all that stuff. And then this appointment, they were going to do how big they were, like measure their bones and all that stuff. So every 2 weeks they kind of switch off. So again, I was so excited. I actually made like a whole get ready with me type video, and I hadn't posted on YouTube in a while. The pregnancy was a bit challenging in the beginning, so it kind of prevented me from creating content during that time. But this was going to be the first video I posted of me just kind of getting ready, doing my makeup, and just talking about the twins and how excited our family was with, welcoming the girls into our family. Being able to experience a pregnancy with just one baby is just a miracle in itself, and something that I just grateful for and thankful that God allows my body to be able to experience and do. So, just now and, being pregnant with twins is just double the feeling of like, oh my gosh, like God, you allowed me to get pregnant again. And not only am I carrying one baby, but I'm carrying two. So it's just, I don't know, it's just a fantastic feeling, you guys. I can't even really fully put it into words. I'm just honored. I'm just thankful for the opportunity. I'm just thankful. Just thankful is, I guess that's the word. We know this is going to be quite a journey, but we are so looking forward to it. Also, if there's some twin essentials that we need to know about and purchase, let us know that as well in the comment section. We will greatly appreciate it. Thank y'all for letting me ramble for a bit before I have to go to this doctor's appointment. I thank y'all for continuing to watch my content. Thank y'all for showing up for me. I really, really, really appreciate all of you guys. Before I go, let me go ahead and show you my belly. So this is how the belly is looking, y'all. I know, I'm out there. I am out there. I'm currently 24 weeks. They are telling me that they don't want me to go past 37 weeks. So I still have a ways to go. But yeah, this is the tummy, y'all. Yeah, that's it. So again, thank y'all for watching. I love y'all so much. And I will see y'all on the next one. Until then, bye. You want to tell them bye? Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Bye, y'all. So I had to pick Bailey up from school because it was with having to do the ultrasounds for 2, it just goes longer. So I wasn't going to be able to pick her up from school in time. So I picked her up from school early, and her, Khalees, and I went to the appointment, and Dion, he met us there. And again, if you guys didn't see the other episodes, this particular hospital, they don't allow small children into their facility. So a lot of times Dion had to stay downstairs, or he would go off and go get the girls ice cream or food while I go through with the appointment. So we do all that. He gets there, he gets the girls, and I get there, and you do the whole waiting and all that stuff. And so they finally call me back, weigh me, and do all the, the stuff they do in the beginning. And then I go in to go get the ultrasound done, and she checks baby A first, which was Leilani. So she was at the bottom. And she looks great. She's measuring great for 24 weeks, measuring on point, all the things. So that takes a little while. And then she gradually goes up to baby B, which is Nalani. And I can tell immediately that something was off. Her heart rate, for one, was almost as if it was in slow motion. It was beating very, very slow. And I can also tell that she didn't have a whole lot of fluid around her either. And so it literally only took her 10 seconds after seeing that. And she says, they try not to alarm you, even though they see that something is wrong. And she just says, something looks different than what it did last time, is what she said. She says, I'm going to go get the doctor and I'll be right back. And I already knew something was terribly wrong. In a matter of a minute or so, the doctor comes in and she says, let me check and see, And so she goes and she checks Nolani and she says, I'm sorry. It doesn't look like baby B is going to make it. And at that time, Nolani's heart beat. Her heart was still beating, but it was very, very, very slow, very slow. And she says, if you want, we're going to have to do an emergency C-section if you want baby A to have a chance to live. Because it looks like baby B is not going to pull through, just by how everything looked. And so she asked if I needed to call anybody, and I said, yeah, let me call my husband. And as soon as he picked up, I just started bawling. I couldn't even really get out many words. Do you remember what I said? Because it felt like a blur to me in the moment, but could you recall what I was telling you on the phone?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this at the end of the last episode, is that when you called me this time, I could tell in your voice that something was wrong. Well, it felt like I could just tell by the phone ringing at this time, because I kind of wasn't expecting you to call me during it, because it was just going to be routine measurements, and the fact that, I was getting a call from you during this time. I knew it was a time that you were done, so, I just from the phone ringing, I had a sense that it was something not good. I hear you crying, and I think I asked you, is it okay? And I think you just said no. And then I said, I'm on my way, and, me and the girls, our two older girls, were getting ice cream at the time, and I just threw the money to the cashier, said, thank you, we gotta go. And she's like, acted very nice. She's like, you don't have to worry about paying. I was like, no, here, just taking. And so I picked up both of the girls and started running across the street to the car while I'm still trying to talk on the phone. And at that time, I think you had mentioned that, they had to take me to do an emergency surgery. And then one of the doctors got on the phone because, I wasn't there. But I know from you telling me that it was just a whirlwind from that moment. Yes. And so I'm running, trying to get to the car. I fell and banged my knee. We get the girls in the car, and and I put them in the car, and one of the doctors is giving me the details, but you can go ahead and kind of.
Yeah, so I guess trying to talk to him, and I couldn't really get my thoughts together. And so I handed her the phone. Someone put me in a wheelchair, and they're hurrying me downstairs to get this emergency C-section done. So they put me in a room in a matter of minutes, and all I see is bright lights, and there's so many people in the room. There's one person telling me, take off your clothes, take your socks and your shoes off, take everything off. There's someone putting me on the table. There's someone on one arm giving me an IV. There's someone drawing blood. Someone, I guess the anesthesiologist, telling me that, they're going to put me to sleep very quickly. And I guess the doctor that was performing the C-section, I remember him coming close to me and saying that he's going to do the very best he can to perform my surgery. And the other doctor that came into the room to do the ultrasound, she said, let me check again, to make sure. And then she checks and she says, she kind of shakes her head and says, I think baby B is gone. And so it was just, it feels like somebody was on a different part of my body. Somebody's up here behind me, consoling me and kind of rubbing my head. And I see they have their hand on like what do you call it? Yeah. And then I feel someone very aggressively rubbing the iodine on my belly to quickly to sterilize it and clean it. They're going so fast, and there's somebody doing some of everything. So I remember praying in that moment because there was so much going on, and I was just laying there, just kind of almost numb, not physically, but just mentally. And I just remember praying, Lord, if you could allow both of them to be okay, please let them be okay. And then my next prayer was for myself. I asked God specifically, please don't let me die like this. Don't let me die like this. I have 3 other children that need me, and I need them. And I don't want to go out like this. I just remember that vividly. And they put the mask on, and I was knocked out. When I came to, yeah.
And during all this, I mean, the medical staff, the doctor or nurse was on the phone with me the whole time, telling me that they were prepping her for the emergency surgery. They were telling me where I needed to go as soon as I got there. I mean, so I it was helpful in that situation because, I'm panicking, driving way too fast, trying to get there, and everything. And, with Bailey and Khalees there, I think Khalees fell asleep. Bailey is just like, what's going on? Yeah. And, talking to the doctor or the nurse on the phone, they were expressing their sympathies and just saying, we're going to take care of her. Just get here as soon as you can. And I don't think it's any comparison to what you had to go through. But I, mentioned that the hardest thing for me was not being there with you, to hold your hand, to comfort you in any way, to have to go through that, by yourself. I just can't imagine. And so that was, the thing that hit me the hardest is that I just wish I could have been there with you. Because you told me about what you prayed for. And so to go in emergency surgery, to go under anesthesia with really not knowing what's going on, I just can't imagine how scary that was. So
yeah. So when I came to, of course, they had me in a room, and I remember the first thought was, oh my gosh, I am so sore. My stomach was so tight because they had it, bandaged and everything. And I remember feeling a great amount of pain, and like I could barely move. Like you moving an inch and it was like throbbing pain. I don't know if you were you in the room when I came to? I can't even remember that.
No, I was in the hospital, but they had you. They told me that they wanted me to wait until you woke up before I went back there.
Okay.
So while I was waiting for you to, come out of surgery and wake up for the anesthesia, they put us in a room, one of the patient rooms. They were trying to find something to entertain Bailey and Khalees. And Khalees just, she was she's shy now and reluctant to go to other people, so she was clinging to me. And so the pediatric pathologist, or the lead NICU doctor, came to me and, told me what happened. Unfortunately, they weren't able to save Nolani. That she passed just prior to birth. And they said that we were able to save Leilani. They mentioned multiple times that when she was born, she was yelling and crying, um, and she was feisty, I think, is one of the words they used to describe her. Um, so they said they were getting her all taken care of and up to the NICU, and that they were gonna wanted us to wait till you came out of anesthesia before we went up to see her. But then they asked me if I wanted to see Nolani. And when they asked me that, it hit me that, they said that she didn't make it through birth and that she had passed away. So that's, to me, always one of the worst fears as a parent, to see your child go before you. And the thought hit my head for the first time, really, that I was going to go see, my baby girl. And she was already gone. And I've told you this, that they had her in a bassinet, bundled up, um, very similar to how they do once the baby is first born, and they hand them to the mom. And I walked in the room, and I just felt like my body seize up. I couldn't walk, couldn't move. Um, I just froze seeing her there. Um, I didn't know what to say, what to think, what to do. And then, the doctor's talking to me about everything that happened, and it's like the, what's the Peanuts, where it's just like womp womp womp. I'm just like in a daze, and I'm finally moving. I can walk over and look at her, and she was so beautiful. And I can say this now, but in the moment, I don't know, I felt scared, felt sad, felt mad, I felt ashamed as a dad. Like there was nothing I could have done to help her, but I felt like there was something I should have done. I feel like all kids, of course, looked at their father, but little girls, their dad's supposed to protect them. And I couldn't do anything to protect Nolani. And I don't know. I just felt just so sad, that being the first time I saw her and not being able to do anything for her. And so the doctor continued to, kind of give me the rundown of everything that happened with childbirth, and then she goes into telling me what they're doing with Leilani right now. And then the thing that got me the most, and she said, if you want to, you can hold her. And everything in me wanted to, but physically, or mentally, or all of it, I couldn't. I was afraid. I was angry, mad, and I just, I don't know how I was supposed to deal and be in that situation. And so I couldn't even pick up my baby girl at that time, and I, I felt horrible about it. You know, say, men are supposed to be strong and all this kind of thing, but I don't think there's anything that prepares you that can make you strong enough to deal with that situation. Um, However, the doctor tells me that, they'll keep her near for when Lainey wakes up, and if, we want to hold her or, just be with her, um, later that day. And, I, I would assume that, I don't know if my response was too uncommon. Maybe I'm not the only one, but, they said, it's okay. If you need more time, you can have more time. And then after that, after speaking with the doctor, they let me know that you had woken up for the anesthesia, and then um, I came down to see you. And during the mix of this all, I think we mentioned before, we've had great people in our lives, friends, family. Um, um, One of Lenny's aunts, Sean. Um, Came and got the kids. I gave her a call. I'm pretty sure she was like, I don't know what's going on with Dion. He's incoherent, crying on the phone. But she was able to come and get the kiddos from the hospital, and they love going to visit their Aunt Sean and Uncle Leonard. So thank you, Sean. Thank you, Leonard, for taking care of the kiddos while we were dealing with that. And then um, after that, I go to the recovery room where Lainey is, and I just kind of just fall on her, and we just start crying in each other's arms.
Yeah, and it was painful to do so. I'm in pain, and you can't even cry like how you want to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to yell. I wanted to do some of everything, and couldn't even physically do it because I was in so much pain, and because I didn't have an epidural to kind of numb me or whatever.
Prior to the surgery.
Right. So I had to, ask for pain medication. And if anybody knows me personally, I hate taking medicine. So they were asking me, do you want to take this? Do you want to take that? And at first, my, stubborn part of me wanted to say, no, but I was like, no, y'all got to, whatever, the strongest thing y'all have, like, I need it. So.
Well, and I mean, I think you mentioned it, but I don't think it can't be, like, understated how severe of a procedure a routine or scheduled C-section is, but an emergency C-section. I mean, they mentioned that it's one of the most invasive surgeries that you can do. You cut through multiple layers, muscle.
About 7 layers.
In the human body, and you're removing another being from another body. So it's not a simple surgery. It's not something that, women can jump right back up from, or it's not a big deal. So any of you guys that think it is, it's not at all. And so just once again, like, I feel bad not being there for you during that.
Yeah.
So I cannot, and I've not tried to say that I understand what you were dealing with, the pain physically, and in the pain mentally and emotionally. I don't know how women do it, guys. I don't know how childbirth, pregnancy in and of itself, and then to deal with something like this. I say I don't know how women do it. I don't know how you did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've talked about this a lot, and I know I'm kind of getting off track, but about people telling you that you're so strong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I know that comes with mixed feeling towards the term, because why do you have to be strong?
Mm-hmm.
The situation is so bad that people feel like just being able to get through it.
Right.
And they see you get through it, even if they do see you cry, even though they see you upset, you know, saying you're strong, I don't think has the impact that most people think it does.
Yeah.
And I don't fault anyone, because
No.
this is how I felt. I was like, she is Wonder Woman, because she was consoling me. I was a blubbering mess. I couldn't speak. I think at one time, all the doctors and everyone thought I was going to pass out. So they're looking at me. I'm like, no, she's the one that needs the assistance. And she's just holding my hand, telling me, we're going to be okay. We're praying. And she's crying too, but there's a an anointed kind of poise. I think that what I would say that you had during this, that I am still in awe of today. Because you didn't get mad, you didn't get angry, you weren't throwing stuff, yelling at people. And I know that's how I felt. Asking this doctor, that doctor, why did this happen? You were like, babe, come here. We're going to pray. We're going to hold each other. We're going to be together in this moment. Us and God. And like I said, that to me is a strength that I think, and I know God gave you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I didn't have it. And I needed you in that moment to be the strong one. And you were. I couldn't have done it without you. And like I said, it feels crazy to say that I was the one being dependent at that time when she had just gone through an emergency surgery. So,
the thing about having a partner is it switches off, because there were moments when, I stayed in hospital, 3 nights?
3 or 4, I actually can't.
Yeah.
3 or 4.
So there were moments where I woke up out of my sleep, the very little sleep that I was able to get, and I'm just kind of staring off, in the dark, or I'm waking up crying, and he would wake up and he would be the one to console me and hold me and tell me everything is going to be okay. So it was and it still is a lot of back and forth, where one is a little bit stronger than the other in that moment, and they're able to carry the load a little bit for the other. So I appreciate that. But I think we left off where you came in the room and we're, consoling one another. And I did end up getting my medication. And the nurse comes in and she asks if I want to, see Nolani. And I said yes. Immediately, yes. Give me my baby. And so they roll her in and they picked her up and hand her to me. And it's like a second nature thing. Like instinctual.
Yeah.
Immediately started mothering my baby. It wasn't processing in my mind that she was gone. She was in my arms, and that was all that mattered in that moment, was I was holding her. And so, they left, and they before they left, they said, you can have her however long you want. And so, I remember just holding her, just looking at her, rubbing her little face, rubbing her little hands, and I cherish those moments um, to this day for the rest of my life that I was able to hold her all day and all night. I held her. The only time I put her down was when I needed to go to the bathroom. Even in the middle of the night, you know, when you first have a baby, you make sure, you know, when you wake up, you know, you kind of check on your baby, make sure they're okay. I did that for her. Make sure I was holding her tightly. I didn't even put her down when I was sleeping. I held her. I slept sitting up so I could hold her. And I didn't want to give her up. And so it's, you know, if you've had a baby, you know, there's so much going on with people coming in and out to check on you, check your blood pressure, pricking you, you know, to get blood, and to check on this and to check on that, and to press on your stomach, you know, to make sure you know, you're not hemorrhaging or anything like that, and making sure that your cervix is closing up properly and all the stuff, that you're not bleeding out. And during all that, I'm just holding on to my baby. And so I think it was the next day after I had her all day. And during this time, Dion is back and forth. That weekend, our daughter Bailey was supposed to go. She had a cheer competition in Orlando, I believe. Is it Orlando?
Somewhere.
I forgot. It's somewhere. She had a competition, and in the midst of that, we're, you know, he's the one that's been, you know, calling the moms and from the team, and coordinating to help take her with them so she doesn't miss competition. So he was all over the place, back and forth, getting the kids clothes, getting them this way, getting them that way. And then also he's, you know, going to the NICU to check on Leilani as well. So he was all over the place. And I know you were mentally, physically, like, exhausted. Just with all the ripping and running. But after a full day of holding her, they came in and asked, you know, if I was ready to, you know, to let them have her so she can be picked up by the morgue. And I told them no, not yet. And one of the main reasons why, the main reason why was because Dion hadn't held her yet. And I knew if he didn't get to hold her, that he would probably regret it. And so I gave him time, and we talked about it, and eventually he decided he wanted to hold her.
I told her that I didn't know how to explain, like, the feelings that I had that kept me from doing it. You know, you see in the movies, or even maybe in your own life, where, like, you go to do something, like if you're afraid of heights and you walk towards the edge of the building, you just freeze up.
Yeah.
Or if you're afraid of bugs and you see a spider or whatever, it's
like your body freezes. Like it's,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I had never experienced anything like that. I've never been, too afraid, too nervous, too anxious to do anything. And I've been very anxious and nervous about things in the past. But this was on a whole nother level that I just couldn't explain. I wanted to. I wanted to hold her. I wanted to, you know, love on her. But I just struggled with it. And seeing how she, took her in her arms and mothered Nolani, from the moment they brought her into her, I was just in awe of that. I was, the motherly instinct is something that's just amazing. Um, and what she said is true. I knew I would regret it if I didn't hold her, but I just struggled to do so. But I prayed about it. We prayed about it, and I mean, really, the strength from prayer is real, y'all.
Yeah.
And, that's a whole nother podcast, but it is. And then the strength between two people, a married couple,
Yes.
Your faith combined, having God in the middle of it, really can make things possible that you didn't believe possible. Will give you strength where you didn't think you had it. And that's the only way that I was able to do it. So I was able to muster up the courage, and just the rush of emotions was just unreal. I think we both said it so many times during this. It just doesn't feel real. It feels unreal. It feels surreal. It feels like a fantasy. It feels like a movie that we're watching with like the worst script possible.
Yes.
It just felt, it didn't feel real, but it felt too real at the same time. But no, babe, I thank you for encouraging me in that moment, because I needed it. I couldn't have done it without you.
Yeah.
And so, going through all of this, I think we mentioned in the last film, just the world didn't stop moving. She said, Bailey had a cheer competition, so we had to get to that. Thank you to all her cheer teammates for pitching in, and during that time and post after that, with meals and just, they were like, whatever you need, just let us know. We had a great community around us. Like I said, we mentioned Lane's aunt, and then our family back in Okinawa, and everyone leading up to this, like we've talked about. I mean, that really does help.
Yes.
Because
tremendously.
You shouldn't go through life alone, and you shouldn't go through the hardest parts of life alone. But, and then, Junior still had school. Khalees is a
toddler
Yeah.
that needs a
well,
lot
I mean,
of...
she was, 14 months at this time? So, yeah, just barely toddling along. And so she wants her mommy. She wants her daddy. And the kids, we really were trying to figure out how to tell them. I think we told them that mommy had to go to the hospital because of the twins. And so figuring out how to tell them when they can see everything that's going on. Yeah. A 12 and 8-year-old, they're not dumb. They understand that something isn't
going on.
Yeah. And so, but our kids are amazing. They gave us grace. And that's a weird thing to say, that your children gave you grace, because they knew, they could see it in my face that I was stressed. They know they hadn't seen their mom in a couple of days, so they knew something was up, but they didn't press. They didn't give attitude.
Asking questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were very, way more mature for their age than they needed to be at that time. But, they helped us get through it as well.
They did. And they still do.
Yeah.
To this day.
And so, doing all of that, and every time I left the hospital, I just hated doing so and leaving her by herself, because I just wanted her to rest. to get stronger, and know that everything we're dealing with. It's like every time I left, I'd come back and someone had come in the room to ask a million questions while she's trying to sleep or whatever. There's something happened. It's like, oh my goodness. It's like, why? What more can go wrong? What more can happen? What more can be placed on us during this difficult time?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, as she mentioned, Leilani did make it, and they took her up to the NICU. So I think it was, I can't remember what time her appointment was on the 6th.
I believe it was after 1. I think
it was in the
like
afternoon.
1.
So I think it wasn't until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock that morning. I think you had finally, for the first time, gone to sleep. And so they came in today, you can see your daughter in the NICU. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't, she was always on our mind during all of this. And we were just praying that she was being cared for properly. But, what was her condition? I mean, 24 weeks premature is very early. So they take me up to the NICU and to her room, and it's like she's in this little pod, like this incubator, and she has all these wires and tubes hooked up to her, and she's so tiny, like could fit in the palm of my hand, but she's squirming around. She's got good color to her. They have her hooked up to all the monitors where you can see her heart rate, her oxygen, pulse, and everything, and all the numbers are looking good. The nurse says that she's been doing good, giving them trouble by moving around a lot, which is a good sign. And I just remember when I saw her, I just felt relief. And I'll tell you, I felt a conflict in me. I felt, and we've talked about this, and I think, I felt relief that Leilani was here. But at the same time, I felt troubled in that belief because Nomani wasn't also with us. And I think it was a thought that came to mind every time because at this time you still had Nomani. And so, because they're twins too, they're always linked together. And so seeing Leilani there, and then knowing Nomani was with you and she didn't make it, it's like, how happy can you be? And how sad can you be?
Right. It was so conflicted. Like, the emotions were conflicting so bad. It's like you said, we were relieved that Leilani made it through, but we were hurt and heartbroken that Leilani didn't make it. And we often had conversations like, how are we supposed to feel? Like, it's like two things kind of butting heads. Like, how are we supposed to feel in this moment? But hearing you talk about when you visited Leilani for the first time, I also think that gave you courage to hold Nomani, because we couldn't hold Leilani for a while because she was just so fragile and so early, and like he said, all the wires and all the things hooked up to her. And I believe after your first visit with her is when you came back, you were able to hold Leilani. Can you kind of I guess, say how you felt when you finally did get to hold her.
I mean, that's a great point. Going to see Leilani, well, because the first conversation that I have after I get to the hospital is the doctor, talking to me about Nolani passing, and she's the first one of the three of you, Nolani and Leilani, that I see. And I think just dealing with the passing of our daughter just did something to me that I didn't know how to deal with. I didn't know how to process it mentally, physically, emotionally. And so I couldn't pick her up in that moment because I just didn't have that strength. But then seeing you hold her as soon as, you saw her, as soon as you laid eyes on her, that's my baby, give me my baby. And being a mother to our baby, I just thought that was amazing. And the strength, I don't even think you don't consider it to be strength. You consider it just you being a mom.
Yeah.
But I saw it as a strength that I didn't have. And so then going to see Leilani in the NICU and just being relieved that she was surviving, and we gave us that hope. I felt that I could not. I felt like I would be, even though I said I felt bad because I couldn't protect my twins, or I couldn't protect my wife from this. I felt like I would not be being a father to Nolani if I didn't get past this and love on her in the only way that we could at that time, right? And that gave me, I guess, the courage or what have you, to be able, to hold her and say hello and goodbye to her, and let her know that Daddy loves you, he misses you, and I wish I could have done something. I wish I could have, saved you. But yeah.
It was so beautiful seeing you hold her. I don't know if you remember, but you were also praying over her as you were holding her. It was beautiful to me to witness. So eventually we had to, give her back. And after giving her back was the day that I went to go see Leilani. And so, he put me in a wheelchair and rolled me down there, and I was able to see Leilani, and oh my goodness, she, like he said, she was just so tiny, and she just looked so sweet. I remember that she had like the little kind of like covering over her eyes, and had the light for jaundice, I believe.
Yeah.
So it was just a whole lot going on, but the joy and, like he mentioned too, the relief of just seeing her breathing. And we were able to get to hold her hand too, and that was, oh my gosh, that just felt, there's no words like to say how good that felt to hold her hands and have her little tiny fingers, her little fingers wrapped around your pinky.
How they saw something like you. It was like a jolt of electricity or life when I touched her for the first time. Yes. Like a jolt of just pure joy to be able to hold her hand.
It was just amazing, just feeling her warmth, and it's, if you've ever been in a NICU, it's just so much going on.
Yeah.
So many machines that you don't even. I can still kind of hear those beeps in my head. But it was so great visiting her, and so we were there for a while. And y'all are going to hear our babies again. I think we said it in a couple of our videos, but you're going to hear them in the background.
You mentioned about me gaining strength from going to see Leilani. What did that do for you?
Oh man, I think it gave me a boost of strength as well, to keep going. If anyone has experienced grief, and particularly losing a child, that's just an unexplainable hurt, an unexplainable feeling. And I think seeing Leilani, it kind of forced me to like keep going and not to sit and sulk. I wanted to get better for her and for Junior and for Bailey and for Khalees. Um, so yeah, I think she did give me like a boost. And you know, he talked about the conflicting feelings. I didn't want, I remember not wanting her to feel like, how do you say it, like, but I don't know how to say it, but because her sister is gone, I didn't want her to feel any type of way. I know she's a baby and she's not knowing exactly what is going on, but I wanted her to feel loved and cared for and everything, and not, I guess, the sorrow and the pain we were feeling about losing her sister, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we explained one time we didn't want it to feel like there should be an asterisk beside her existence because her twin sister wasn't there. Mm-hmm. Because remember, we told y'all they're identical twins. So I think we were, one of the times we were talking, we talked so much and we cried together so much, but you know, we were like, oh man, I really wanted to see what she would look like when she got to 1 year old, 5 years old, and then like it just hit me. I was like, baby, we will, because her twin sister.
Yeah, they're identical.
And so, you know, we thought, man, then we're like, we don't want it to be every time we look at Leilani that we think about Nolani, but we do want it to be every time we look at her to remind us that she is one of our twins. Mm-hmm. And so it's just that dual kind of emotions. Every time you thought about one, you thought about the other. Mm-hmm. And it would be joy, sorrow, joy, concern, all of that every single time. And that was, and still to this day, is one of the most challenging things.
Yeah.
And so I think getting for Lenny to see Leilani in the NICU was kind of, you know, I guess a turning point in her stay in the hospital. So, you know, I think there was the first couple of days it was kind of like we're just trying to deal with every moment as it came to us. We mm-hmm. couldn't see past the right now. And then after that, we started thinking about, all right, so what do we have to do next? And all of that stuff, none of it was really fun, you know, because it doesn't feel like they give you enough time. And I know they were trying to be gracious with the time, but, you know, we have to make arrangements for Nolani. And I'm like, what do you do? How do you do this? Yeah. What are you supposed to do?
Yes.
Right?
And you feel that way because it's so unnatural. Like, parents are supposed to die before their children.
Like John Q said,
I'm not going to bury my son. My son is going to bury me. Yeah. That's so true. Like, it felt unnatural to be making funeral arrangements for our child. And so, as he said, like, you know, they're coming and they're asking questions and they're like, okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to go with this mortuary or are you going to go with this and that? And we're like, I don't know. Like, I can't even, I feel like I can't even fully breathe right now.
Correct.
And we're having to make these finalized decisions in this moment when our minds feels like a tornado is spinning within it. But,
so, yeah. And so we make those choices, as, you know, as reluctant as we were to do so, as difficult as they were to make. You know, we do make arrangements, or start to make the arrangements for Nolani while we're still in the hospital. And all this time still, Lainey is still trying to heal to the level that allows her to go home. And then the next thing, they're like, well, Leilani is in the NICU. Are you going to breastfeed and or pump and all that kind of stuff? So then we have a lactation consultant come into the room, and this is still within 72 hours of having an emergency C-section. It felt like we crammed a whole year of stuff
into 3 days.
Yeah, it was. And then of course you get the text message, phone calls from your friends and family. Once again, we have an amazing village around us, but sometimes it's like the phone would ring, I wouldn't want to look at it. The text would come in, I didn't look at it. No offense to anyone else. I think there was hours during this period of times where I think we just sat holding each other in silence, and we just wanted that to be it. We didn't want any other noise or anything, and just for us to be to console each other and to love each other and just try to figure out how we were going to deal with this new reality that we're faced with. Because like I said, it even as cliche and maybe even childish as it seemed, it felt like, well, maybe this isn't real, or maybe we can restart this, have a do-over,
you don't know how
or
many
something.
times I was like, those movies where you got to keep repeating the beginning until you get a certain point correct or whatever. I felt like that. Like, maybe Mark 6 can start all the way over, and somehow it can change, and this won't be the result. So I definitely understand what you're saying there.
But I mean, we know the reality that we weren't able to do that, so we pressed forward the best way that we could. I would say that the things that allowed us to get through it, first God, and then each other. And I think allowing each other to be as vulnerable, because this was the most vulnerable moment in both of our lives. There was, we shed gallons of tears, lots of, wailing and moaning and sobbing and all that kind of stuff. I told her one time, I don't try to pretend like I'm some macho man, but I don't cry.
He doesn't, yeah.
But I cried so much, I said the tears were literally burning my face. It was just, but that's that vulnerability and that space to be vulnerable. She didn't hold it against me. That's, some men don't want to cry, don't want to be seen vulnerable, but, she actually let me know that she thought it showed strength.
Absolutely.
For me to be in that position. And I
felt like it was a beautiful thing to see you be vulnerable with me, because it was like you dropped all of your pride, all of your, I'm a tough guy. He is a tough guy. But, just drop everything and just let it fall. And I felt like that was a beautiful thing. And I felt like you loved me enough to and you felt safe with your feelings and your thoughts and everything. You felt safe enough to share that with me. So.
No, and in the situation, you think about it, there's nothing, no time or no event that's gonna, challenge us as individuals, as a married couple, and as parents. Than dealing with the loss of our baby girl. Even, we talked about, like, it just seems like we got hit with so much. If it would have been an early emergency C-section, that would have been tough.
Mm-hmm.
If it would have been one baby at this time, that would have been tough. If the baby, would have passed or would have lived, that would have been tough. But now we're dealing with all of that.
All of it at the same time.
And with 3 other kids who still need their parents, a wife that needs her husband, a husband who needs his wife, a daughter, a sister, an aunt, an uncle, a son, all those kind of things. You're still all of those things in this moment, and you're just struggling to hold on to something.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we kind of get, pardon us for getting lost in all of this, but that's how we felt in the moment. Sometimes, would wake up in the middle of the night, wouldn't know where I was at. Like, it would feel like, I would wake up hoping I was dreaming.
Yeah.
And then I would wake up and she would be up praying or crying or, just sitting in silence. And then there were times where she woke up and I was praying silently, and I'm a pacer. I'd be walking, and then we got to this point. I think this was, I don't want to say high point. I don't know how to explain it, but this was the point where I think, I feel like we connected in a way that we had never, and we just, were holding each other and saying that, whatever it is, whatever it was, and whatever is to come, that we're in it together.
Yes.
And we weren't perfect before. We weren't perfect in the moments during this, and we won't be perfect in the future, but we're going to lean into each other with love, compassion, understanding, and support each other through this. And I mean, just like, with anything, we work at it. And, so through the pain of losing Nolani, and with the simultaneous desire for joy and optimism for Leilani in the NICU, and of course wanting to still be the best parents we could be for our other 3 children, we decided we had to do it together. We had to make, not that we weren't doing it before, but we have this now. We have this scar, this hurt, and we're going to have to work through it. So it's going to take that much more.
Yeah.
And, that wasn't a challenge that we were looking at when we woke up on March 6th.
Right.
But I guess that's kind of how life comes at you. I mean, if we could write the script, it would be a lot easier.
This definitely wouldn't have been in it. But yeah, I agree. I was telling one of our friends that dealing with this type of situation, it can take you one of 2 ways. It can push you further apart, or it can draw you closer together. And that decision in the hospital, I remember us sitting on the edge of the bed, and we made that decision, like, we're not going to allow this to tear us apart. And from that day forward, we're like, we're gonna do the best that we can, and we're gonna get through this hand in hand, and depending and leaning on God for strength to get through. So after, I think, like you said, 3 days or so in the hospital with all these decisions and all these different things that's going on, I was ready to be released. And so of course they had to check my stitches and all that stuff, and everything looked fine, well enough for me to go ahead and go home. As he had mentioned earlier, during this time, the lactation consultant specialist, she's coming in and out, and of course I'm like, yes, I want to nurse my baby, but of course I can't do it physically, so we decided to pump. So they bring all that stuff in for me to do, and I was so frustrated because it was a challenge for me to get anything with pumping. And I wasn't really used to pumping anyways. But it was a challenge, and I started to get down on myself because I'm like, I know my body can do this. I did it 3 times before. I can do this. And so...
and this, once again, this is still within 72 hours
yes.
of emergency C-section.
Yeah.
So, I was trying to comfort you and saying, hey, you're being way too hard on yourself. You're still healing. You're still dealing with everything. But I know it was something that, you had a kind of unwavering commitment
Absolutely.
and desire to get this done.
Absolutely. And so in the meantime, Leilani was able to get donor milk. So they asked me, because, since I wasn't able to produce the first day, and of course she needed to eat. So they were like, you keep trying to get that colostrum. And in the meantime, do you want her to receive donor milk? Absolutely. Let her receive the donor milk. And so I remember just being so frustrated, and I'm pumping and pumping and pumping, and nothing is happening. And I remember literally just praying over my breast and God, do what you can do. You did it 3 other times before with my other babies. I know you can do it for Leilani as well. Please allow my breast to produce the milk that she needs and nourish her, and just kept praying and praying and praying. And I took pictures because I was so hyped when I was finally able to get milk from her. And it started off with a little teeny tiny bit, and then I was able to produce so much.
Yeah, and so I remember when you first were able to get some milk, and it was just enough for a little bitty syringe.
Yes, yeah, a little swab.
Yeah.
It was it almost kind of like a
long
Q-tip.
Long Q-tip, and so they were like, "Oh, you can keep it. It'll be good for room temperature for a few hours." And they would come by and pick it up, and she would look at me like, "You take this up here right now."
Yeah.
And so I did, and they allow you to swab it on their little lips while they're in a little pod. So she was able to get milk from her mommy, and I know for her that just did her heart so good, and it changed kind of. I want to say it changed the dynamic that we were dealing with, because I think at that time you felt I am still mothering, and I am, I still have to be a mom to our twins, because like I said, we couldn't hold Leilani at that time, and you'd only been able to see her a couple times, and doing so you had to, get in a wheelchair and all of that, so you couldn't hold your baby.
Yeah.
In that sense, so being able to provide that to her, I felt like it really lifted your spirit.
It did. I think it was a little bit easier for me to leave the hospital, being that I was able to do that for her. So, yeah, it was hard to leave her, but because I could leave her nourishment,
yes.
it made it. I was able to go without that much, I guess, anguish or hesitation.
I think it was, I can't remember if it was 3 days, 4 days total, but it was the most, emotionally, physically draining, few days of our life. And then, as we're leaving the hospital, I noticed on our door they have a butterfly. And, I put 2 and 2 together. That represents someone who lost a child in the postpartum wing of the hospital. And then so I remember thinking about that. It's like, we have one child that we know has left us on this earth and gone to heaven. And we still have one fighting in the NICU. So we're going to ask that you join us next week. We're going to talk about our journey with Leilani in the NICU.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us for In the Morning.
See you next time.